Well, it's a scintillatingly hot day here in Croatia. Welcome to another episode of See Croatia, where today we're starting off in the Krka National Park and very soon we'll be looking at the Krka River, or the River Krka, depending on how you call it. I've had to get an ice cream today because of the heat, but it's melting very fast and I can't quite eat and talk at the same time. But anyway, you can see the sun really glistening off the water here. So we're a better place to see the water than, well, on the water. Let's go up close to this wonderful river. Well, as you can see, we're now on the aforementioned boat, and well, as is tradition in Croatia, it has become very windy all of a sudden, and after all, we are sort of more or less nearly on the sea, probably for real. So I can give you some more details on this wonderful Krka National Park, or the Nacionali Park Krka thingy. Now, this park covers an area of 109 square kilometres and was established in 1985, but I would imagine the park was here long before that, but obviously they only made it a national park at that time. Flowing through the Krka National Park is the River Krka, which I believe we're on, and dotted amongst the River Krka are several different lakes and things like that, and I'm sure we'll come to those in a few minutes. The mouth of the River Krka is in the Bay of Šibenik, and the source is in a town called Nin. It's about 75 kilometers long. An interesting chimney thing developing there. I don't know why. I'm sure there's a good reason. Obviously industry recently must be a bit important here.
Very old one.
It is very old. Now, where are we at the minute? So I've got a map here, and we started off in a town called Skradin, and I believe we're following this, well, do you know which line we're on now? Well, we'll find out where we're going very shortly. Goodness me, this wind takes your breath away as the sun goes. Right, so now there's plenty to see and do here in Krka, because not only is it a national park, but it's also home to many thousands of types of wildlife. So what have we got? We've got 800 species and subspecies of plants, which isn't wildlife, is it really? Anyway, we've got 18 fish. That's not right. 80 fish species. Or is that 800? Anyway, including brown trout and the Dalmatian barbary gudgeon. Don't know what that is. If you want to let us know, please write in. And we've also got birds. There are many types of birds. We've got over 200, I'm told, and amongst them we've got egrets and night herons. It's a day now, so maybe they're called day herons at the minute, I don't know. Coming up to a bridge, and we've got some people mooring a boat, and there are boats all over this lake. Many tours and many different opportunities for people to see the scenery. And anyway, we're going to continue on up this river, see where we end up. we've got many waterfalls. We're hoping to catch one of those, and we're also hoping to catch a monastery on an island. Yes, only in Croatia would you find such a thing. So, what? Anyway, there you go. Right, yes, let's see what's further on up the river. Okay, now we're about to disembark this boat, but let me point out before we do the greenness in the water. No, it's not the Rio Olympic swimming pool, it's just all the greenery that is in this area that gives it that effect. Now, if you're wanting to know what the water flow rate of this river is, I've got that information here. It's 18 meters cubed per second in the summer, and 43 meters cubed per second in the winter. But today, thankfully, quite a still day. Let's continue on our merry way. Well, we've got rid of the boat and we're now on foot, where we've reached Šibenik Buck, which is a group of about 17 waterfalls, considered to be the most beautiful calcium carbonate waterfalls in all of Europe. And well, they're quite interesting. I can't help but feel here though that the view is spoilt by the groups of half-naked swimmers in front. But hey ho, that's life. And anyway, we can look up close, and you can see that the water is flowing down. We're in, I think, a 75 meter valley or something. This is. Yeah, that's about right. And the river flows all the way. This must be an offshoot to the river, because it continues on up. And anyway, but rather love it. You don't often see a waterfall of this size or shape really, but it's quite an interesting one, and it's going pretty quick. So yeah, certainly a lot more pressure in that than your average shower, but there's more to see, I'm sure. And after a lot more walking and many more steps, we arrived to a few more of these wonderful waterfalls. I suppose really if you've seen one, you've seen them all, but don't tell the Croatian tourist authorities that. The Krka National Park is the name given to the area surrounding the Krka River. It was opened in 1985 to protect and preserve the wildlife and nature of the Krka area, whilst also showing off its beauty to the world. The river, which forms the beating heart of the park, was thought to have been named by the Greeks Katarbatas, meaning steeply falling. Its source is located in Dinara Mountain, 45 or so miles northeast of the park, on Croatia's border with Bosnia and Herzegovina. Amongst the animals living in the park are 18 different species of bat, presumably the guy that looks after them is known as Batman. In addition to the 17 Šibenik Buck waterfalls, there are 12 more known collectively as Ruski Slap. Interestingly, slap is Croatian for waterfall, so slap in the face in Croatia is actually a waterfall in the face. The highest waterfall at Ruski Slap is only 22 meters tall. So we are now here at further on down the Krka River, and we've arrived at Visovac Lake, which is famous for two things. First of all, we've got Visovac Lake, which is the largest expansion, so apparently, on the Krka River. But also, more importantly than that, we've got this wonderful little island here called Visovac Island. Yeah, and it contains a fully functional monastery. So, what do we know about this? It was founded in I'll tell you what, let me move over and you can see it in the background. It's not quite as good a view down here at ground level, but anyway. It was founded in 1445 AD by Franciscans or Franciscans? Aye, either or. Were they from all the way from San Francisco? No. In the so yes, and I believe it's still in action to this day. Anyway, well, we've now made our way onto a rather lighter boat than the one we were on earlier, and unfortunately it's heading back where we started. Whilst I choke on the fumes of the engine right beside me, I think now is a good time to leave the Krka National Park. As interesting as it's been, it's basically just trees, water, fish, waterfalls,
naked tourists,
and tourists that are half naked. So let us now move on to our next location in this episode of See Croatia. Well, just down the coast from places such as Vodice and Krka and Šibenik and places like that, we come to this lovely place called Biograd na Moru, which translates literally as White Town on the Sea. So there you go. Now this used to be the capital of the former Croatian kingdom, and currently it's a population of 5,500 or thereabouts. Now we'll take a little bit look at up close to this town very shortly. But here we have a lovely, probably our best example yet of the wonderful Adriatic Sea and the many Croatian islands littering it all down the path. And the island that we're looking at the minute, there are a couple of small ones in the foreground, but if you ignore those and look further back, this is the island of Pashman, known for its quilts. But is that true? Is it? No. Anyway, and so it's one of the bigger islands. There are other ones in behind, such as the Kornati Island group, which is another nature reserve, similar to Krka in that respect. It's been nature reservificated, and it's much the same really as the islands in front. It's very low on vegetation, but it's quite glamorous in its beauty, so they say, and that's probably why. Anyway, Biograd itself then, not very much worth throwing away here. Biodegradable, see what I did there? None of that. Anyway, this actually again has a lot of history. In fact, I'm very well aware that I'm repeating myself and that every town I go to seems to have the same history. So for instance, this one here was another one that came under Venetian rule many hundred years ago, and sort of the Venetians really ruined this place because it was another town that was destroyed by the Venetians, and well, over time, after the Venetians have moved on, this town's gradually been rebuilt. In fact, this town was once known as New Zadar. Whenever various refugees decided they had to leave Zadar because of whatever regime was going on there, they came here, called it New Zadar, and then they moved back again. Now, what else do we know? Yes, it was the reason why the Venetians destroyed it then was because of its proximity to Zadar, and this was ordered from the very top by the good old Dougie of Venetia, or Venice, and quite a ruthless character because he's basically destroyed every single town down this coast at one point or another. But anyway, good to see that the town now is still standing, and certainly still standing over it, as you would see in many other towns. The company light, as they say in Italy, the bell tower. So let's have a wee look and see what it looks like from a, well, also ground level view, but slightly closer. And at the highest point of Biograd, we come to this magnificent cathedral, Biogradska Kathedrala, or Biograd Cathedral. The building itself probably quite modest, but the bell tower is quite exciting, and it's not particularly old though. So what do we know about? Well, there's the bells for a start. Now, this in 1902 they discovered that there was the remains of an original cathedral here, and it was said that this had been destroyed in the destruction of Biograd in the 1100s AD, and the new church had been here for a while, and unfortunately the remains had to be torn down because they weren't very safe or whatever. Now this building itself, well, not this one but the original one, they believe has seen many historical occasions, because King Koloman from Hungary, a former Hungarian king, came over here and he was crowned king in this town, and it's thought to be at the original cathedral here was where he was crowned itself. So very exciting, but it's a shame that the original cathedral no longer standing, again destroyed by the Venetians. Darn those Venetians, blast. Our final stop in Biograd is the Museum of Local History, here located in a building which was erected on the ruins of medieval walls at the end of the 18th and early 19th century, and it collects many local artifacts. We've got stores, no, it doesn't collect stores. Collects heritage such as what have we got here? Scissors and weapons and clothes and many different local artifacts. But my most exciting artifact of this place, and it sums Biograd up in a nutshell, the lovely pineapple tree. Fantastic. Anyway, we're going to move on to somewhere else altogether different now and see Croatia. Just a stone's throw away, well, maybe a little more, from the Krka National Park is this wonderful place here, known in the, by the locals as Vodice, or Vodice if I was to pronounce it literally, no, phonetically, photo-written-ally. Now the bells are going on in the background, and due to lack of proper planning, I don't know anything about this place, but I found some facts that may enlighten us. Now, first of all, goodness me, they're really ringing those bells hard over there. So first of all, I shall read out what the tourist book tells me, or the local literature from the tourist info people. So Vodice offers you everything, the unique beauty of Dalmatia and its big heart. Well, that's probably a bit of a stretch. The clear Adriatic Sea, the sound of waves, refreshing scent of pines coming from the beach and hidden coves will bring your body to a state of complete relaxation. And then the bells start ringing and then it wakes you up again. Now, what else have we got? They pride themselves here on their hiking, bike riding, diving, sailing, big game fishing, and for that matter probably small game fishing as well, and many other activities. And interestingly, it also says here, one visit to Vodice is enough to make you want to come back every year, because Vodice is unique and inimitable. A perfect spot for your vacation. That's a little bit far. I don't quite agree with all of that. But anyway, now we've got out here, you can see, well, it was a bit wet earlier, but I'm sure there were fishers at some point here, and there are lots of boat tours that go out onto the sea itself. So let's see what we can see elsewhere in Vodice. And before we go, interesting monument over here thing. I wonder what that's about. So this then is the eternal flame, it would seem, and the reason for this being here probably is given away by these names beside me. Now we've got the Croatian coat of arms, and I would imagine that the names written here are all the fallen people as a result of the Croatian War of Independence, or one of the other wars, if not that one. So I would imagine that this is this other big monument here is to signify that there is life ever going eternally for those that may be no longer with us. And elsewhere here in Vodice, we come to the parish church of St. Cross, which has a bell tower, and this would be it. Now, the church is a work of Šibenik Baroque builder Ivan Skoko, or Ivan Skoko, I would imagine the same probably would be pronounced, and was built between 1746, the church that is, and 1749 on the foundation of an existing old chapel. Now, the bell tower itself, had already been, 1752, so it's not that much later. But as bell towers go, this one probably a lot more recent than some of the other ones we've already seen on this series. Now, what else do we know? Now, the bell tower was made by Vico Makanovic, I beg your pardon, who was a builder from Dubrovnik, and we'll be going to Dubrovnik later in this series. And it has a closed stem and two naves, whatever that means. So there you go. Now the Church of St. Cross and its adjacent bell tower. Quite nice. Lastly in Vodice, let's take a look at some of the other things that we haven't seen in this little bulletin. It's not really a bulletin, is it? Anyway, so we've got Oakett Hill, which is the home of a legendary, well, it's now not there anymore, I haven't really written this very well. A field maple tree that standing tall next to a church would sprout every third Christmas, and the tree is sadly no longer there, but they're hoping that this year it will sprout at Christmas time, so I wish them every success with that. And anyway, now we're going now to head to the city, I suppose it is, the city town, that's all the same, isn't it, of Šibenik. Which is just further on down the coast, and it's slightly medievally, and it's there that we go next, and there's a bit to do there as well, so let's go. So we've made our way, as promised, to this wonderful place, which is Šibenik. I don't have a stutter, just pretending for visual effect. The sun may be setting on this wonderful bay, but in fact this show is only getting going, and we've plenty to see whilst we're here, and I've got a few little things to tell you now. You'll notice up behind on this promenade, before I get run over by a bicycle, there are over here we've got these buildings, obviously the more recent ones at the front, older ones at the back, and this town was well, it's suffered its fair share of battle scars anyway. Now 1066 may be often remembered as the year of the Battle of Hastings, but in this part of the world it's more famously remembered as the year that Šibenik was put on the map. And well, thankfully it's still here, some 1,000 odd years on. Now, what else do we know? This was another town ruled once by the Venetians, and after the Venetians had their turn and installed all their Venetian blinds and masks, the French got a look in, then the Austrians. And in fact the Austrians were in possession of the city all the way up until 1917. Now we also know about the Yugoslav war with Croatia, Serbia and all the other Yugoslav states, which led to the destruction of Yugoslavia and the installation of Croatia as a country in its own right. But it actually had a very negative effect on the local industry here, which was such a shame. But at least the country now is very independent, so they've got something, and actually the tourism industry is now being largely rebuilt. So let's go for a bit of a dander and see what we can come across in this place. Yeah. Šibenik is the oldest native Croatian city on the Adriatic and lies on the mouth of the Krka River. As of 2011, Šibenik had 47,274 inhabitants. Because of the turbulent Croatian history, Šibenik was one of many cities to have a large defensive fortress and walls. In fact, Šibenik is one of only a few cities to have 4 fortresses. These are currently undergoing an extensive restoration process. St. Nicholas's fortress was built in the 16th century at the entrance to Šibenik's Bay. Considered to be one of the most important naval monuments of the whole Adriatic coast, and connected to the mainland by a path, it's probably the best of the 4 fortresses. In the city itself, the Cathedral of St. James is entirely made of stone according to worldheritagesites.com. The stone was imported from Brach Island, and even the dome is made of this stone, but sadly not the windows, debunking that statement from worldheritagesites.com. As was the case in most of Croatia, the cathedral has suffered much damage in World War II and Croatian War of Independence, but has since been restored to almost its former glory. It's another one of Croatia's UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The faces chiselled onto the facade of the cathedral are somewhat unusual in that they are not portraits of saints or famous people, but instead regular citizens of Šibenik. Well, we've got plenty to see here, and it's so beautiful, all the stonework on the ground, stonework on the walls. We've got creatures, I think that's a person anyway, and we've also got this wonderful cathedral behind us. Perhaps not the best view, but the best view will be seen from the front. This is the Cathedral of St. James. square is absolutely bustling with atmosphere and activity this evening. This is the front of St James Cathedral, and this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was built a long time ago, and it was damaged in 1991 by the War of Independence that we've talked about many times. But they've since repaired it, you'll be pleased to hear. And about work is very much ongoing up at the top. This is actually the side of the cathedral. The front of the cathedral gives a very different view. And it's there where we head next. And the front, of course, yes, as I say, a very different site. And this was created, I've now got facts at hand, 1432 this wonderful place was built. And it was built by renowned Dalmatian and Italian artists. Anyway, it's got a Renaissance style. I think that's Gothic. Would you agree? Gothic? Gothic architecture, perhaps? No? Anyway, so there's a lot of detail, a lot of intricate detail. Now, you may remember from previous series of See Italy, where the Italians obviously like their cathedral, and the Italian influence in Croatian architecture is huge, as it is in much of the rest of the world. But this, yeah, it's very intricate, very detailed, very nice. So what else have we got? Now, you may remember also from See Italy that the most Italian churches, cathedrals, have baptistries. Now this one's a little bit different. This one has the baptistry built into the inside of it. It's all encompassing, all wonderful. What? Inclusive, yes, all inclusive, much like your average breakfast and bed and breakfast. So this is very much what Šibenik is known for. And it's good to see such activity. It's bursting out, and it's making people dance. Very strange. Anyway, yeah. Darkness has well and truly encapsulated the whole city of Šibenik, or town of Šibenik. And indeed, it allows us to focus on another lesser known element of this city that you probably wouldn't know. In fact, you probably knew none of this, because let's face it, who would want to? So now you see these lights all the way down, and this lovely blue light over there. This reminds me that Šibenik is home to or birthplace to the world famous Nikola Tesla. Now, for those of you who aren't so techno-literate, maybe you don't know who Nikola is. He was the inventor of the, let me get this right, electricity? Something like that. Anyway, so he originated from this part of the world, but he also used the city of Šibenik to sort of develop the technology. Now, we know that Šibenik was the first city in the world to receive a polyphase system of alternating current. Who knew? And this supplied 340 streetlights and some houses. And anyway, so that's wonderful, and it shows you how at the front of technology Šibenik really is. Now, Nikola Tesla, what happened to him after he developed electricity? Well, he went on to have a rather famous career as the mayor of Šibenik itself. So a man of many talents, I'm sure you'll agree. Now, what else? Just a bit outside of Šibenik, maybe it's better looking this way, we've got the Kornati Archipelago, which is, that's the one, Archipelago, which is a group of 150 islands, and apparently it's the most dense archipelago in the whole of the Mediterranean Sea. So there you go. Anyway, it is rather dark here, and it is now time to end this drear fest that has been Croatia. It hasn't really. It's been much exciting, and join us next time where we will be Split. I think we're going to be in Split next. So stay tuned for that. For now though, cheerio, and see you next time on See Croatia.
kiss the golden shore. The sunlight warms your skin. All the beauty that's been lost before wants to find us again. I can't fight you anymore. It's you I'm fighting for. The sea throws rocks together, but time leaves us polished